Welcome back. So how difficult is it to keep Donald Trump from clinching the Republican nomination before the GOP convention in Cleveland? Let's game out a few scenarios. Here's where we stand today. Mr. Trump has 683 delegates. Ted Cruz is in second place with 421. You see Kasich and Rubio behind them. The magic number is 1237. Now, I can't go through all of the states one by one. So here's one scenario. Well, look how this plays out. What if Mr. Trump keeps winning in the Midwest and here in the eastern states when New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, et cetera, gave one to Governor Kasich here, and Ted Cruz keeps winning out west? We could get to the point where Trump's somewhere around here and the California primary's coming up, right? That's on June 7th. If Mr. Trump won big there, after winning a bunch here, that would put him across the line. But that's just one scenario. Let's take that away for a little bit and come back to a different scenario. What if Governor Kasich starts to do a little bit better? He gets Pennsylvania, he gets Rhode Island here, he gets Delaware here. Ted Cruz keeps winning out in the West. Then you've got something like this. And then under this scenario, again, this is just a scenario, Trump wins in California and wins big. Then look at this, he's a little shy. So you could have Donald Trump get to the convention. He could be at 9-something, he could be at 10-something. He could be, if he runs the board here and wins California, right around 12-13. Mr. Trump says in any event, if he's close to the magic line and then you don't give him the nomination and these guys are way back here, Trump says, make me the nominee or watch out.
I think we'll win before getting to the convention, but I can tell you, if we didn't, and if we're 20 votes short, or if we're 100 short, and we're at 1,100 and somebody else is at 500 or 400, because we're way ahead of everybody, I don't think you can say that we don't get it automatically. I think you'd have riots. I think you'd have riots.
That may well be true, but is the leader of a movement, a guy who wants to be president, supposed to say that? Or is he supposed to say, my supporters would be incredibly disappointed and I would have to keep them, I would have to manage them because they would be furious, it would be undemocratic. There's a way to make that point without saying there would be riots, is there not?
There is, but I mean, we've been asking that question about a lot of things Donald Trump has said. I think in some ways he is sending a signal to his supporters about what could happen and what perhaps he would like to see happen if he gets to the convention and is a little bit short of 1237. And I frankly don't think he's wrong. I think if he goes into the convention, he is very close and he's won the majority of states and the majority of voters, and Republicans, through a process that will be incredibly confusing and very hard to understand even for those of us who follow this closely, try to take this away from him, essentially, I think you are going to have a lot of upheaval. It just doesn't necessarily look democratic, even though it will be within their right to try to do.
These rules have existed for years, and we're going to see whether or not they have to use them. And I think, as you pointed out earlier, the sophistication of the Stop Trump argument is we have rules. Right. We will use those rules if we need to, and people will just have to deal with it. But looking at your numbers there again, if you're John Kasich, go run a campaign for governor of Pennsylvania and Rhode Island, right, and then run for Congress in like 12 of those congressional districts in California, because that will stop Trump. If you're Ted Cruz, keep running in Nebraska, Oregon, Washington, Montana, New Mexico, South Dakota. A two-front war that Trump has to fight stops Trump, conceivably, because he can't focus on one person. He'll be distracted on both ends of the country.